Hello, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Sarmad Amer from MangoBaaz. It's been a while that we met. We took a little break because of certain national holidays and then certain scheduling concerns that we had. But now we are back with our episodes after this short pause. Today we have Umber Jawed from Ismail Industries. Umber, could you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about what you do at Ismail Industries?
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you, Sarmad and MangoBaaz, for having me. Just a little bit about myself. I'd been with Group M previously for about 8 to 9 years before I joined Ismail Industries in Feb as a media manager. With every company, every multinational, every local manufacturing company, as and how we're growing, there is a separate department that manages media because it has become a very fast, growing section of marketing, and advertising it plays an important role. Obviously, this is a specialized field as well. I at Ismail Industries as media manager, I manage their investments and their communications in terms of devising strategies for their marketing plans in terms of the media scope, so TV, radio, digital, print media, ATL per se. Devising strategies, right audience on media. In a nutshell, this is what I do.
Right. And since we are going to be talking about this, as this conversation is about beloved brands and how they can thrive and survive during a time of crisis. Um, so I understand at Ismail Industries you are managing some of the most beloved brands in Pakistan, primarily one of them being Kokomo, that everyone can't have enough of, especially people from my age group who used to have Kokomo back in the early 2000s, late 90s, and we've grown up on that. Um, so, yeah, could you tell us a little bit about what brands you manage?
So as a media manager, so Ismail Industries has three main segments. One is Bisconi, which is the biscuits brand. Then one is Candyland, and who does not know Candyland? And then there's Snack City. We have that's the chips company where we produce curlies and peanuts and snacking, multiple snacking items. I'm at Ismail a group media manager, and managing the media for the entire company is what my essentially my role is. And as you rightly mentioned, that some of the power brands which you would see more frequently on TV or on digital would be Kokomo, Right. We just launched our campaign, chocolate chip cookies. Then we have Chocolato, and then as for Candyland, we've got Chili Milli and the ABC jellies and the marshmallows. So multiple brands. It's a huge portfolio across
Absolutely.
the three.
Yes, and all of them brands that people actually really, really care about in terms of their preferences. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure
Core
they're
fan.
exactly, people are huge fans. So I'm
Things
sure
are.
when you are looking at campaigns around them, they are very important to how that brand is perceived. So tell me a little bit about how this current pandemic crisis affected your marketing strategies or your communication strategies with the audience.
So Sarva, there obviously this is a huge topic, right? As for the confectionery category that we operate in, and I speak as for the industry also. Thankfully, I mean, when this whole thing blew up, in March, PSL shut down. There were certain current campaigns that were on, we immediately, as soon as this blew up, we put off all media. Um, the reason for this primarily was that as Smile, we believe that this whole global pandemic, it was not just an economic crisis or a crisis that we were just hit by. It was a health issue, and that this issue, which was directly related to people's health, directly reflected on the demand and supply of the manufacturing industry, right? So it wasn't just a small thing like a normal recession. So we decided to go off air because we didn't want to touch upon anybody's sentimental, values and upset anybody. As for the fact that yes, we were all home, the entire world was home. We were all at a pause. That definitely would have brought around a lot of eyeballs if I were to just think of it as a marketing person. Yes, this is the right time for me to put my brands on air so that it could be seen and remembered. But at the same time, there was so much stress and negativity and fear that we did decide to go off air. Thankfully, this period, March to June, and then June, July, it is June per se. So summer vacations come by. It's kind of an off season for confectionery category. So after March and April, a lot of activities anyway kind of go down. And obviously, there's no rule, but that's what the general trend has been like. So, as for the first 2 months of our lockdown, when things were really at its peak, there were fears. A lot of like companies, apart from obviously FMCGs and pharma, a lot of people slowed down everything, not just marketing or anything. Production slowed down. So the first 2 months definitely were very slow, but after Eid, Ramzan Eid, things kind of started picking up in the sense that you know we kind of got into the routine, slowly and gradually work started and stuff like that. So things have started picking up from there.
Right. This is a very interesting reaction to the pandemic from your company, because you, as you yourself mentioned, that usually होता ये है, brand सोचते हैं कि हर कोई घर पे स्क्रीन पे बैठा है, तो और ज्यादा एड्स दिखाओ उनको, ताकि हमारा ब्रांड सबके सामने आ जाए और लोगों के रिकॉल में टॉप प्रायोरिटी बन जाए. But do you think your decision not to, or rather to pause your advertising and marketing, was because you guys have a strong fan following among your audience, that you knew कि इतना ज़्यादा effect नहीं होगा if you don't do the marketing?
See, Sarmad, so as an individual, I believe that advertising is a long term investment and not a short term cost. So, having said that, I feel like, yes, that was that period, but like I said, confectionery category generally takes an off period during, the summer season when the schools are off and, they're not going to school, the kids aren't going to school, and, there's a less of that, it's so hot, generally chocolates categories can't function in the heat. So, naturally that period kind of fell into the off peak season. But at the same time, as soon as things kind of, that this kind of gave us a lot of planning for the post, opening up of everything, and then, the season going back on. That gave us a lot of time to streamline also. And to be honest, this kind of worked for us because in the period where we weren't active advertising or literally selling our product, we kind of developed other platforms, on digital. So we can talk about that in detail if, later on also. So that kind of gave us that space to kind of work on mediums other than just TV or, BTL or anything. So that's what happened. And other than that, now that the season's back on, August started off, schools hopefully will be resuming, hopefully, fingers crossed. We've shot out our campaigns and, We're trying our best to, kind of hammer our communications in the minds of the audience consumers, just so that now that everything is normalized and they're hitting the stores, they remember our products. That is what recency planning is all about, to be in the minds of the consumers. So I think it kind of balanced it out, the off period and now everything going back on.
Right. And then also you mentioned, and this is, I mean, a surprising thing for me because you are the first company that I've had this conversation with during the series who has mentioned this, that you guys also realize that it's a health crisis. So the audience sentiments might not be in the
In the
right mind to want to buy things in general.
Yeah.
I haven't heard this from some of the other people that I've spoken to. So that was a very a positive thing to hear as somebody who would be a possible consumer of your products. So other than that, in terms of as we've discussed, how you guys were affected on a marketing level, but because during this period the advertising industry has changed, and then you also mentioned that you have developed some properties on digital media. Do you think your company has utilized this sudden evolution of digital media by working on some interesting creative projects?
Yeah, first of all, the first thing that we worked on and launched was our munchmart.pk, which is a website where you can purchase all of Ismail Industries products online. So that is one thing that happened during this pandemic. People like me and a lot of people, started trusting online shopping more and more, because to be honest, there was no other choice. Either you go out and get affected, or you stay home and kind of take that risk of shopping online. So shopping online on our own website, Munchmart, we launched that as a Smile. So all of our products are there. Other than that, we tapped onto multiple other e-commerce platforms that we are very well, heard of. Um, More additional to that, apart from that, we have now launched our Bisconi YouTube Kids channel. So, a channel, yeah. So we're working on that, obviously, but we just launched it on 14th August. We came up with, so Kokomo launched a so our national anthem, but interpreting the meaning of it to the kids. So a lot of kids don't know what a national anthem really means. Okay, all right. So like even me, for example, I don't really remember getting into the details of what this really means, our national anthem. So we launched our national anthem, and so our chocolate chip cookie, the Cookie Mon, the character, we that itself is live on Instagram. So that character launched and made a debut on Instagram as a profile, as a impersonated kind of being. So that, and then we did, in partnership with a PR agency, we with Chocolato, went ahead with a virtual fashion week, a fashion show. So these are the few baby steps that we've taken. I mean, not baby steps. There are certain, milestones, not just baby steps. These are milestones for us. So that's how I think that the mindsets have changed, and be it a forced mindset change, but it has changed. And I think we've taken that step, and hopefully for the better.
Right. And in your experience, going through pausing your traditional advertising and then looking for creative ways and then also preparing for post lockdown, now in hindsight, do you think it is a good idea for brands to take a pause sometime and not always be on air?
Sarma, that's a
I'm not
very vast
going to
question.
general
Yeah,
sense. Yes.
sorry, your voice just
So,
broke down. Sorry.
sorry, I just meant that not necessarily Ismail Industries, but generally for brands, would you suggest taking a pause sometimes as a good idea?
Um, Honestly, like there is no 100% right or wrong there, obviously, but since working for a company that did take that pause. I feel like we were lucky that this pause didn't really affect us massively or anything, and we were able to sort of climb back up the ladder. Um, but if the need is quite dire, and in the situation like this, um, and in a global pandemic where the world came to a halt, restaurants, malls, traveling, tourism, everything was shut down. There was no like inequality anywhere.
Yes.
There was obviously this situation, but other than that, I feel like advertising is a very ongoing process. I feel like इतनी investment कर दी इस brand को launch कर दिया and then you suddenly go off air. No, I think you kind of establish that equity in the minds of the consumers. Your brand recall, gets established over a period of time. And there are giant brands, they've worked for decades to kind of come up with this brand recall, where they're just remembered. They're just there in the minds, in our minds. National brands, so many of them. Um, I just feel like it is a long and ongoing process. Advertising, we can't just be so sporadic and ad hoc and just go on and off. And I just feel like it takes a while. Obviously, you have to have the right investments, and you have to be backed up by the right kind of finances, and it's difficult. But I feel like it's important to be there continuously and ongoing, in an ongoing manner.
Right. Right. That's interesting. So you would think even a, a wide, like a widely beloved, like Kokomo, for example, when I think of Kokomo, I feel like that's one of those iconic brands. Just the Rosa ho gaya. Kokomo is another one which people recognize anywhere in Pakistan, even Chili Milli for that matter.
Yeah.
Um, um, even for some brands like that, you would think that it's important not to completely pause or not to completely go off here.
Sarmad, it's really about building that relationship with your consumers. When you just disappear, I just feel like out of mind, out of sight, out of mind kind of works even with brands. Not just between people. It's literally a relationship. Our previous communication by Chili Milli, it was by Fahad Mustafa, and the theme of the communication was कि पूरे पाकिस्तान में मिली so it is that growth that it has taken from day one to where we stand now. And if we were literally gone out of media space, then yes, people would obviously go to the store and know it's there. It's
Yes,
just
of
that
course.
that conversation would be missing. The fact that I am talking to you, yes, so that kind of goes missing, and that's the fun. I feel like if you, I don't know if you've seen the Chili Milli ad, the Fahad Mustafa one. It's fun. He's pulling a stunt, across Pakistan, ja ke, with
Yeah.
dressing up as different kinds of अपने ethnicities में. So it's that fun communication that goes missing, and it just kind of gets a little boring. And if you see, for example, some of Excel, they've been working on one tangent. Dirt is good, दाग तो अच्छे होते हैं, for years. And even though it is an established brand, what if they went off air? Then that sentimental value with every Ramzan campaign that they've been coming up with, that would that would kind of be absent.
Yes. Absolutely.
And
It's this
consumers
thing.
feel that
One
difference, right? They feel that absent.
agreed. Agreed. I while you were explaining this, um, for my understanding, I felt as if, for example, with a friend, you don't speak to them for a very long time. You kind of lose touch with them then, and then the distance keeps growing. So I think it works the same way with
Yeah.
brands. Communication is important.
And Samad, in this day and age, the confectionery category is super crazy. If you stop advertising, or if you stop being present, there will be some brand that will take that place, in the minds of consumers and in their pockets. Because if you
Yeah.
speak masses, the pocket size is limited. बच्चा 20 रुपए लेके जाता है, and he wants maximum things out of those 20 रुपए. So 5 रुपए का कोकोमो भी लेंगे, 5 रुपए की चिली मिली लेंगे, 5 रुपए का चिप्स का पैकेट लेंगे, and they've got a lot of like candies options, and candies भी लेंगे सब. So you know then there is a replacement. It's not like a
Absolutely.
brand
Yeah.
would be replaceable, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. Agreed. So, in terms of your own experience working through all of this in this pandemic, working on rehauling the campaigns, working on reconnecting with the audience post lockdown and everything. How was your own work life on a daily basis affected because of the pandemic?
This is a very touchy topic because work from home is torture. In plain
I
and
can.
simple words, I have worked from home this time, but there was no getaway. There was no escape this time around. So, normally you would want a break from work or go on a vacation. You wanted a work from home break also. But honestly, like, it made me learn how to stay home and make use of that quality time that, we get, normally we don't get, that we had this time around. Yes, it was very difficult, sort of juggling the house chores and maintaining your family life. And because to be honest, and you would have heard this from everybody, um, work from home had no time. There was no time bracket that we were working in. It was around the clock job, and obviously household chores are also around the clock, kind of thing. And it was very, 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 very difficult, but you really have to get down to organizing yourself in a manner that none of your tasks are hindered, and there has to be a routine. Even though the kids were home, everybody was just home, and we just found our little silos and just tuned in and tuned off when we could, and then tuned back in. And that's how I feel like, yeah, it has changed everything. I think
Mhm. Right.
this whole
And yeah, even
crisis.
in the past, as you mentioned that you have worked from home, um, in the past, यही होता था कि like if you wanted some silence, you could go to a coffee shop or you could go some place outside of your home, even if it wasn't the office. Up to obviously everything was shut down. You had to stay home. Y- Yes, I think there's some internet distortion. I don't know if it's at my end or yours. I yeah, once it gets I think it's better now. What were you saying? Could you repeat? Okay,
Sorry,
no. Um,
Sarmad, I didn't get that.
yes. Sorry, I was just saying okay, I think we
Sorry, I'm
yeah, no
back.
problem at all. No problem at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. No problem. So yeah, I was just saying in the past, as you mentioned, you have worked from home आपको experience है, but this was very different. So I was just thinking कि in the past ऐसे ही होता था कि अगर घर पे आपको मतलब distraction ज़्यादा हो रही है, you could go to a coffee shop, you could go some place outside of your home that wasn't necessarily the office. Up to everything was shut down, so the whole family had to stay inside the home to work.
There was no getaway, like I mentioned. No?
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so my next
Sorry, I think
question
I
is
missed a part of your question. Did I? Sorry,
Um,
go on.
yeah,
Right, right. Sorry.
yeah, no problem. So my next question is about in terms of your managing your schedule and your work um, because of the work from home situation. Have you found yourself to have changed your working style after the lockdown when you have gone back to the office?
So we have gone back to office actually. The first thing that hit me when we were told that we're going back full time. So we were going off and on like once a week, and as per the need. But since Bakr Eid, we've been right after that. We've been going all like on a regular schedule, and every day. And the first thing that hit my mind when we were told that the routine is back on, I kind of panicked because the fear is still there, big time. Just a few days ago, three of my family members in my house recovered from corona,
Mm,
and we literally, kind of it just we just walked past it. We our tests were negative and all, so that fear was very much up there. Even though normalized हुई situation, cases were down. Things seemed so casual out there. I was really scared to go back to the office. But at the same time, having a routine now and getting away from doing 10 things to focusing on work 9 to 6, was quite a relief because honestly, working from home, like I said, there was no fixed schedule. We were connected if need be at 9 p.m., at 10 p.m., and everybody mentioned that across. I even like other groups and all that I was following. So, that was a relief because yes, now we were on track with a routine, but the fear is still high. Like it's literally been 2 weeks, 3 weeks that we've been back
yeah,
on. The fear is there, of getting infected and bringing the infection back home. Um, at the same time, I think it's a really, we're really, I was in a confused state, to be honest. It is a very confusing state to be in at the moment, till this thing really goes away because kids are still home, and if the parents are getting back to work, then what do the kids do? So
yeah,
that's kind of a tricky situation to be in.
absolutely. That's a very interesting concern that you've raised about um, how there is a concern when you do go back to work, but then also at the same time, the fear of getting infected is everywhere. Um, so I guess it's like up to how best you are able to take care of yourself, given that restrictions have eased. People have also started to become a little bit more careless with practicing safety. So yeah, yeah, definitely there is the fear. In terms of your own post-lockdown life, what's the first thing that you did to get back to life that you used to know before the lockdown?
Honestly, like the malls have been open for so long. The restaurants have opened up this month. But really, the first thing I did was go for a spa treatment because that's what I enjoy the most in my
Right.
personal capacity. Because there was so much negativity, Sarmad. It was nothing. It was too much. There was too much negativity. Yes, I did take my daughter out to the park as soon as the parks opened up, and she was freaking out. It was a new space for her all of a sudden. She didn't know what to do. Um, but yeah, I think going to the malls and cinemas is still a little, far fetched for me and my family right now because, especially because my family members were affected and we really went through a lot of trauma, mental stress.
Mm,
So it's fine. I learned to live without it. Being a shopaholic, I learned to live without going to the mall and shopping. And I literally converted from actual, going out to the stores and to the malls to online shopping. And I'm happy. I didn't, now that everything's gone back to normal, I don't really feel the need to jump into going out to the mall anymore because it's been a while, and that's exactly what we kept thinking when this pandemic was rising. when it was increasing and the situation was getting worse. Okay, the world will change after this scenario, and I have changed. I just feel like, I just don't feel the need of going rushing to the mall every weekend, or I learned to live without it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a very strange change कि usually things जो आप ordinary समझते हो कि हर weekend पे आपने सिर्फ 5-10 minute के लिए करना है, when you aren't allowed to go there, you realize that you can live without things that you thought you couldn't live without.
Yeah, yeah. I think the most, what I missed the most was definitely eating out because I'm a huge foodie. And as soon as the home deliveries opened up, I think that's one thing that I literally, you know, um, jumped into. But other than that, I think yes, you're right. We definitely learned to live without lot of things that we thought, oh, ये कैसे हो सकता है? Malls कैसे बंद हो सकते हैं? This is impossible. Schools कैसे बंद हो सकते हैं? Daycare कैसे बंद हो सकता है? um, all the can't happens turned into yes, it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, like in summation through all of this conversation that we've had, do you have any tips for Pakistani companies who might be listening to us, or Pakistani people who are working in the media and advertising sectors, about tips on how you, on a personal level, have learned to cope with the crisis and having gone back to the office? Do you have any suggestions and tips?
So Sarmad, I think as for the marketing segment, obviously, I mean, you know, I just feel like there are so many more avenues that across the world we've seen that have opened up, in terms of entertainment and, um, just keeping yourself busy even as a person. And generally there were so many things that, I think, watching movies at home, watching Netflix and this and that. There were so many more platforms, and even locally, there are so many more productions that are happening, other than just the basic dramas that we see on TV. And yes, going out to the cinema, even though cinema was at go growing at this point where everything started to shut down. I just feel like we found our sources of entertainment as viewers, as consumers. We found our way to buying stuff and accessing our products. Then I think in this on the same lines, I think as marketers we need to sort of crack and keep cracking and keep tapping onto newer avenues of touching upon our consumers and potential consumers. I feel like there's no stopping here, and this is what I think, the fact that we I don't know, we just came up with the fact that kids don't know their national anthem. So here is a piece of entertainment, get them to know their national anthem. That is an innovation in itself, right? Like the kind of things you put out there. Normally, हम ये कहते थे कि आपकी जो है वो पाकिस्तानी ड्रामाज डिप्रेसिंग ड्रामाज देखना पसंद करती है, बट आई ऑलवेज बिलीव दैट whatever you show them they will learn to watch. So it is what the input of entertainment, of content that goes out will be, whatever output comes from us as advertisers will be the input on consumers end, on the viewers end. So we as advertisers or content makers have to alter what people are watching and give them quality content, give them positive content for that matter. I think it's really it's really how we drive it. If we can sort of convince them on certain things that a product is giving to you, then we can alter as marketing and media industry what they need to watch. And I think there's ample of potential there.
Absolutely. And before we head on to my final one-liner, one-word questions, I just want to let the audience know that if they have any questions, they can ask us now, and we will answer them. Okay. So as I said, one-liner questions, and I just have two, three. So one is, how do you define in one word your experience of working from home and being in quarantine and this whole Corona lockdown situation? Just one word.
Full, stressful.
Stressful. ठीक है. And during this period, can you name one non-Ismail Industries brand that you liked the way they communicated with the audience during this situation?
Um, I think Reckitt Benckiser generally as a company, um, this was the opportunity for them, to tap on. I'm sorry, that's not one word, but yeah, Dettol and their
Yeah,
brand.
of course, of course.
I think there's a
ठीक है.
whole there's a whole
This,
story behind it also. Sure.
yeah, this was also not a one-word answer. This was a one-liner answer essentially. So इसलिए that's fine. ठीक है. And one brand that, if you could describe it, if you don't want to name it, but one brand you think really did a bad job during this period in terms of their communication with the audience.
Honestly, I don't have an answer for that because I can't remember. I remember the goods, not the bads, if that's politically correct.
Yes,
Just being politically correct. No, no, can't remember.
right. And one idea, or like it's not a word, maybe one sentence that you have for what you think you have to look forward to in the future after the lockdown and in this new world that we have now.
Um, I think the fact that we've learned to live a certain way, I think a lot of things will become the new normal. First of all, I would like to say that working from home was probably perceived as non-productive earlier on before this pandemic, and now there's no reason why anybody, guy or girl, could say that oh, you work from home and you are not productive, because otherwise this entire world would have been non-productive during the past few months. um, so that, and moving forward, I think that, so taking that as a new normal, giving women a little bit of more leverage, when it comes to them having to juggle their life at work and at home. That kind of space. I hope that globally this is given to women. And other than that, I think I'm super excited to see the kind of ways all the brands go right up right after now the things that are normal, because it does take a while to get back after a recession. So I'm really looking forward to how the next the Coke Studios would be, or the
Of
big
course.
events, the
Yeah,
awards ceremonies and the fashion shows. I don't know when things will go on round again, but it'll be exciting to see how we kind of go back. Having said that, the fact that the fears are probably still there. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to what we're doing, what others are doing. I think confectionery category is huge and super uh, heated as a category. So yeah, I think looking forward to that.
right. We have one question. We have answered parts of this question, but Umair asks one thing, best thing about working from home, and one worst. You've already answered the worst, that it's stressful, but what's the best thing?
I think the best thing was that I was able to spend a lot of time with my family. That when you're in a routine, you were literally in a rat race. You wake up at 8. It does get monotonous, right? So even though we were working round the clock while we were home, but there was a way around how I managed things. I worked around it. I spent time with my daughter. There were times when I was working from home, and there were times when I was working from home. times I was on calls and cribbing and whining and moaning in my used to the fact that yes, we're home and this will happen, and it became normal. So I think that the good part was that I spent quality time and I learned how to live without certain things for me. But otherwise, you're in a routine that keeps you on track, but at the same time, you kind of get super busy, and you kind of have very little bracket, between 7 to 10, to spend with your family and connect with your friends and socialize. And so yeah, that's the good, bad, and ugly.
Mhm. Yes, and working from the office, I mean, you've already mentioned that it helps you stay organized. Uh, but what's the best and the worst thing about working from the office?
Sorry,
Yes, it appears we have some line distortion again. Again, I'm so sorry. I have no idea if it's my end or your end. Okay. Since there is a line distortion, I am not sure कि किसके end पे ये issue आ रहा है. We are sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but hopefully this distortion resolves quickly. If it doesn't, we will try and figure out how we can work best around it. We'll try and get to connect with Umber again.
I'm back.
I will, yeah. Yeah, no problem at all. I just don't know if it's your end or my end, so I guess we'll just chalk it up to fate. But I was asking about the second part of the question. What's the best thing and the worst thing about working from the office? Even though you mentioned that the office helps you to be more organized.
Yeah, definitely. You're more, on a routine. You have a schedule. You know what you need to get done in the day. Even though even at home you do, but when you're at work, your colleagues are right in front of you. Whatever you need to do, you do right there and then, rather than waiting for a Zoom session and connecting on Zoom. I'm a person that likes to be around people, so I think it helps me connect better and just kind of get things done easier. It's easier for me. So yeah, I think working from work is something I would prefer for sure. Because working from home, even if it's convenient, it can't be permanent. It wasn't a permanent solution. Wasn't the right thing for such a
Mm,
long time.
absolutely. Yeah. So you're
And
one of
it's
those
not
people
really
who.
about the fact that it's not about being non-productive or anything. Like I said, the world was going through it, and a lot of productivity was seen across. We were using Teams and Zoom and this and that. So yeah, I think, but obviously, there are ways need to do things, and they got to be done the same way.
Absolutely. But my last question is, so you're one of those people who does not like Zoom calls or who will not convert to
To Zoom, is that what you said?
yes. So I was asking, are you the person who will not convert to Zoom given कि अब lockdown भी खुल गया, so you think that can be just a call away? You would not do them still?
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Your voice keeps cracking up, Sarmad.
I was asking, So you are the kind of person who will not convert to Zoom calls.
No, I mean, I had no choice. Obviously,
Of course.
Zoom was the only way out. Um, but yeah, if given the choice, I'd rather meet in person. Definitely.
ठीक है, ठीक है. So yeah,
Everything was Zoom. My child's, class school is on Zoom.
yes.
I took yoga over Zoom. It was just the new normal also.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, that's all that I wanted to ask you about Ismail Industries and your work and the media in general. So thank you so much for your time, Umber. And I took quite a bit of your Friday evening. I hope you can enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you, MangoBaaz. It was lovely talking to you, Salman.
Yeah, same here. It was a pleasure. Thank you. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.